we keep everybody on the Facebook page, so students past and present, you know,
Yes.
everybody's on there. So it's really nice that people who've had a business for a couple of years can share their tips with perhaps the people that are starting out.
Yeah, that's right.
Feel supported, yeah, and Zoe, as soon as I email her, she emails me back, and I'm like, you really do feel supported. I know it's online, but you really do feel like you've got somebody there at the other end of the phone.
In the last 3 months has it been interning, yeah, I've been to an awards ceremony with her, I've helped her set up weddings, we've been to networking, and yeah, it's just been incredible, even in just such a short time.
Every single element of the course, even things that I thought I knew, I didn't actually know, because it goes into things such as lighting, you know, the whole section on.
And that's
things
so
and
important.
it's so important, and things that I never, you know, would have even considered.
We're here on the set of our pre-launch trend report, and I'm lucky enough to have some fabulous people with me today. I've got 4 of my students, Stacey, Nina, Victoria and Lindsay, and I'm also joined by Academy tutor Zoe and one of our advisory board members, Pamela Dunn. Now, we thought it would be fun for you to see a little bit of a Q&A and find out more about what it's like to work in the industry, and we're going to be taking questions from our students and trying to help them answer some questions that they may have about exactly what it's like to try and make a success of a business or working within the industry. So Stacey, you're first up. What question would you like to ask us here?
Okay, my question is really a 2-part question. So it's about photography and owning your own photography. So I'm building my website and I want to have photography for my website, and I'd love to do a styled shoot as well. So how would I go about even making a start with that?
So you want to know about the actual images themselves or putting together the styled shoot?
Yeah, putting together a styled shoot, how would I go about creating that process and getting
Yeah,
that ball
getting
rolling?
started. So that's a really good question, and it's a question that comes up a lot, because obviously when you first start out, no, you don't have images for your website, and one of the worst things you can do is go to somewhere like Shutterstock and download stock images. They look like stock images, they're not creative, and the problem is you might see them pop up on someone else's website. So that's a no-no. Another big no-no is using your own wedding photos on your website, unless you're faded out into the background, because again, it's your wedding and it's very personal and you shouldn't be using it on your own business website. So as you say, one of the biggest things that you can be doing is a styled shoot. And one of the best persons to probably answer this question will be Pam, because she's done a myriad of styled shoots for me, for herself, for many publications. So I'd probably hand over to you on this one.
It's certainly all about the networking. I think, as we've discussed before, that when you're bringing together people in the industry that you really respect, that you really admire, that you trust, that you start to work with, then the style shoot will evolve to be something that's very personal, and each person will influence the end result. So you're thinking carefully when you're networking with people whether in the future you could work with this person, and that you could help and support each other. I think from the outset, if you set out to see what you can do to help and support somebody else, then you will get much better results yourself. So these are generally a collaboration of people that work together just to help and support each other in the industry to get something really personal for you. And it takes a little bit of trial and error, but I would just always recommend that you ask for advice. There's plenty of people, certainly sat here, just ask for advice all the time. Your time is really precious, so you could waste a lot of time creating things that you're not particularly proud of. So get it right and do your research and plan it well. And above all else, I would say, before you even start, make sure you've got something in writing as to what you expect.
I think as well, it's like planning an event, isn't it? Yeah. At the end of the day, a styled shoot is an event. So you're doing exactly the same thing for a styled shoot that you do for any other event, whether it's a wedding, a corporate event, a team building thing. It makes no difference. You're still going to start off making sure you've got a really strong team around you. So that's your number one thing. But before you even approach your team, you've actually got to know what it is that you're trying to get from those images. And you've got to know what style it is that you're after. So if you've got a particular style, whether it's vintage, whether it's bohemian, whether it's industrial, whether it's modern luxe, you know, it can be anything. You have to know what your style is first of all, because if you're producing images for your own website, then those images need to reflect your style. So that's the first thing you've got to nail, and then making sure that the team you surround yourself with can represent that style. It's a style that they're familiar with. It's a style that they easily identify with. So between you, you're all trying to tell the same story. I think that would be one of my biggest words of advice. I mean, Zoe, you've been in business a long time now, haven't you? So what advice have you got?
I would say for the students, because I know you just feel nervous, and if you can find a match for somebody similarly starting out as nervous and do it together, then it works well. So if you can find someone who's obviously in the industry, so maybe a newly started florist or a wedding photographer just starting out, or somebody that you can make a match with and say, can we do this together, because I would really like, and as long as you agree on the style of the shoot
and the dynamics,
and the dynamics, but even if you don't, you can often do one for your style and then say, I'll help you do yours for your style. But just having somebody in a similar position to you and say, let's just do it together, I think helps when you're feeling nervous. So if you can network a little bit and just see who's around you, who's setting up a business in a similar industry, similar supplier, and start with them, I think that will help you just to feel a bit more confident.
That was a great question, Stacey.
Yeah, it's a good
Hopefully
question.
that gives you a few answers.
It really does, thank you.
Nina.
My question is actually for after the wedding. So I'm having problems at the moment getting good reviews on Facebook. I always send our couples a summary email afterwards saying, you know, I hope you had an amazing day and it was fantastic working with you. And I always get an immediate email back saying, we're just on our honeymoon, we can't thank you enough for everything you did. But I never get to that point where I can get them to do a review on Facebook or social media and that kind of, for my website, because by that point they're back from honeymoon and they're doing other things and they're kind of
real life's taken over again, and the buzz of the wedding has died down a little bit.
So how do you get those reviews?
Zoe, you're a working wedding planner at the moment.
And you're absolutely right. It is hard, and sometimes you have to wait a while because you have to be polite about it, obviously, and you can't just chase them up. But you know, there are ways of saying, you know, I hope everything went well and all that kind of stuff, and getting back in touch with them. But sometimes you do have to wait a while. Another thing I do is it's on my contract that I can use comments of theirs for my website. So they've already sort of signed that. And sometimes, and it's still, you know, it's not necessarily an after the event, but I use comments that they've given me via email perhaps as the process has been going on. And they do that. Sometimes they'll say, you know, that was great to meet you last night. It was a fabulous appointment. Thanks very much for the work you've done. And so it doesn't necessarily need to be something that you've got afterwards. So I sometimes, if I'm really just waiting for something and it's not coming through and I just think this is just too much now, I just trawl back through some emails and see if there's some nice things that, or, you know, comments that they've said that I can use, and I'd use those because they've already signed that contract to say that's okay.
Another thing you can think about doing is a lot of wedding planners, especially this is something they'll do over in the States, is they'll send a little gift to their bride and groom, and it won't be straight afterwards for that reason, because they're either on honeymoon or they've gone straight back to work or whatever it is that they're doing. They'll often wait 6 or 8 weeks till after the wedding, and then it's a little token, and it'll usually be something that's quite personal, because when you're planning someone's wedding you get to know them really well. So it might be, let's say for example they have cats. So you might find a little tiny cat magnet or something, I don't know, I'm clutching at straws here, but something that's really personal to them, and saying, with a little handwritten note, not an email, a handwritten note, it was wonderful planning your wedding. I had such a great time planning it. Here's a little something to remember me by. It would be great if you could pop onto my Facebook page and leave a review. So something like that might be quite helpful. Pam, do you have any advice?
I send one out straight away saying have an absolutely wonderful honeymoon. I remember where they've gone, and I try and stay in contact with them and share some little details while they're away on honeymoon. I think we've got to remember that clients have absolutely loved every second of that day, and they just want to keep reliving it and reliving it and reliving it. They don't want it to ever stop. So if somebody takes their time, their friends have got fed up after a week. They've all put their photographs on and mentioned it again and again and again. But if you carry on that just a little bit longer, then you'll get such a great response from them, and they can't help but leave you a review. they're loving that kind of recognition for their day and any little details that you add and anything that you mentioned that was just so lovely about their venue or location or the weather or whatever.
That's really helpful. Thank
Good.
you.
Excellent. Well, hopefully you've got something from that. Your turn, Victoria.
Because I'm still a little bit undecided about who my ideal bride will be.
Yeah.
Is that something that you always knew, or did it come after you'd been like maybe established a little bit?
No, definitely not. It evolves over a period of time, because I know certainly when I started out, it was different back then as well. There wasn't quite so much available to you, really. It was still, you know, we're talking. Yes, too many years ago to mention. But it does evolve, because as you become more competent and you have more experience, it kind of emerges the type of style and the type of person that you enjoy working with. And I think that once you've actually experienced different types of brides, that's when that starts to emerge for you. So it might not happen for a couple of years, and that's okay when you're at the beginning. I don't know, what was it like for you? It's a
really difficult one.
It's a really good question.
Yes, it is a very good question, and I think that one of the we've talked about this. I think Kylie and Zoe and myself about where you start in the beginning, and you have a little bit of an idea of why you set up your business, and that kind of tells you where your clients are. But they grow as your business grows. But I always look back and remember where I started and why I started the business.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to help people that to have a really fabulous wedding day, regardless of their budget. So I always bear that in mind. So even though the clients have grown with my business, then I still always remember where I started. I think it's something that evolves, really.
It does evolve. And I know somebody gave me some advice when I first started and said, you don't need to look too far from home to know who your ideal client is. More often than not, they're very similar to you. So, you know, if you're a shy bride, then you can probably relate very well to other shy brides and understand what it was that you went through that you didn't like, that you possibly could have been helped with. And because you can understand them, they're the type of people that you're going to attract and ultimately get on with well. I'm not saying look for a carbon copy of yourself, but it's certainly something...
Very good point.
Yeah.
But if you show your personality in your website, your likes in your blog, then you will attract
like
those,
for like.
Yeah,
definitely. So hopefully that's helped a little bit.
Thank you.
And finally, Lindsay.
Yeah, so I want to work in a venue, as we know. What can I do between now and when I finish the course and start applying for a job? What can I do now to make me stand out to the venue?
To venues.
Yeah, what can I do?
I think one of the things is what you're already doing. You are obviously out there, so you're getting experience for yourself. But I think putting yourself out there, showing off what skills you've got. Think about, flip it on its head for a second and think that you're the person in the venue. Now, I know you've mentioned to me in a previous conversation you'd love to manage a team in a venue. So think, if you were a team manager, what is it that would make people stand out to you? What qualities would you be looking for? What could they be doing that would make you want to hire them? So flip it on its head and try answering that question and think about, even in your current position, you know, what people stand out to you at work. Who is it who goes that extra mile, and what do they do to achieve that? And that's how you start building something like that. I mean, I don't know what...
I would say already start looking for jobs. So not necessarily applying for them, but start looking for what they need, what they require, what they want, what the job is that you're looking for, so then you can be even more ready. You know, don't wait till the end of the course. Just start looking.
No, definitely not.
Start looking and seeing what's around, what's available. And then it is about the best way to present yourself. So that's via email, CV, whatever information it is. And it's quite a creative industry. So I think, you know, be creative and show some of your personality in that. And if you can start thinking about it now, there's always that job that comes up and you think, oh, it's perfect, but the deadline's tomorrow. You know, you don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
So start just thinking about it now and thinking, okay, so, you know, they'll be interested to see if you've designed mood boards, not necessarily, you know, work you've done, but just start getting that together so that you're ready.
Yeah, use your course material. Yeah. I mean, if you've created any mood boards, I mean, certainly even the one about yourself. So Unit Project 1 for every single course is about creating a mood board of yourself and what your passions are, what your likes are, what your dislikes are. That's a really great place to start, because there probably won't be many people sending a mood board of themselves, which is very visual, very creative, across to a venue to try and describe who they are. So using stuff like that will immediately make you stand out,
Yeah.
head and shoulders above other people. Well, that pretty much wraps it up from us here in the studio and the Q&A with the students. Don't forget, if you've got any questions about working in the industry, we're always here to answer questions. We'd love to hear from you. We have a new global website now, which is www.weddingacademyglobal.com, and from there you can choose which virtual campus of ours is relevant to you.